Alright, brace yourself for some real talk. Dorms in China are no walk in the park, and trust me, you need to be prepared for what's coming your way. From crazy roommates to unexpected surprises, we've got stories that will leave you eyed open and maybe even laughing out loud. Living on campus might seem like the ultimate college experience in China, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And don't even get me started on shitty roommates. It's like playing the lottery or like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. But wait, there's more. If you're considering living off campus for some privacy, think again. It can get isolating, and you'll still have to deal with a whole new set of challenges like, I don't know, having to deal with mentally unstable neighbors or picky roommates. Get ready to hear the truth about the good, the bad, and the downright what the fuck moments of dorm life in China. Welcome to China University. This is Chimsy, your student advisor. In this podcast, I will not only talk about the many professional, academic, and personal growth opportunities this country has to offer, but also I'll mention some of the major obstacles foreign students encounter while living in China. I'll share my experience, thoughts, and opinions along with some realistic advice and genuine encouragement. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode to help this podcast become more relevant and reach more people. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, YouTube, and every other social media under China University Podcast. Feel free to drop me a message with your comments and ideas. Alright, let's dive into the world of dorm accommodations in China. And by the way, sorry for the long absence. I've been crazy busy these past 2 months and I felt like taking a break in the middle. But in case you wonder, I'm back. When you arrive to study here, you might end up living with local Chinese students, which is very rare, but it happens. Not as roommates, but as neighbors most likely. Or in a building reserved for foreign students. But not all dorms are created equal, I'm telling you. Even among the best universities out there, some dorms come with fancy amenities while others are more basic. And let me tell you, dorm life in China is a true roller coaster experience. It's a wild ride filled with moments that will make you laugh, cry, and everything in between. If you're listening to this and you already know what the dorm experience looks like, you'll probably relate to most of the things I'll say here. But if this is your first time in China, listening to this will help you have a more realistic expectation about the dorms. Now, let's explore the types of accommodations you'll encounter as a student in this country. Some dorm buildings are shared with local Chinese students, giving you the chance to make Chinese friends. On the other hand, you might find yourself in an all-foreigner apartment where you can form international bonds and create lifelong friendships with people from all over the world. But here's the deal, dorm designs can vary quite a bit. Some universities go all out with luxury accommodations to lure in foreign students, especially those less prestigious universities that are usually located far, far away from the city's downtown, while others offer more modest settings. It's like a lottery, really, especially for scholarship students, as they might end up in either a cozy room with all the amenities or a more basic setup, to say the least. Unfortunately, only those who pay get to choose where they live in campus, which is understandable, I guess, but it means that if you're a scholarship student, you get whatever they give you. And based on my experience, most of the universities in China follow this hierarchy when assigning scholarship students to their dorms. Doctors and master's students get the best rooms, while undergraduate and language students get the more modest rooms, which are sometimes the shittiest rooms. But that's just my opinion. And regarding the exchange students, I'm not sure. I think it really depends on the university and the types of rooms available and the kind of room the university thinks students deserve. But anyway, you can always go to your school's international students website and check the dorm photos just to have an idea of what the dorms are like. But let's not forget that those photos might sometimes be a bit misleading. You can never really tell for sure what the dorms actually look like and what it feels to live in the dorms in real life. The pictures might not capture the true essence of the place, seriously. Especially if they show you the pictures from, 15 years ago when the dorms were freshly built, Pictures sometimes don't show the kind of stuff that matters, like whether the walls behind the furniture temperature are full of humidity, or if the bathroom walls get moldy, or if it smells like that rat. And another thing is that we don't usually think about the temperature inside the room. You cannot tell whether you're going to freeze to death in winter or if you're going to burn in hell during summer. And some air conditioners work very well during summer, but not so much during winter, and vice versa. Also, management claims to clean your air conditioning periodically, and yeah, they certainly do. But man, you'll see that air conditioning maintenance in some schools consists of removing the filter, washing it in the sink, drying it, and putting it back on. And I know that some of you clean or will clean the air con in your room periodically, but man, you can only clean it so much. There's a reason why there are people out there that make a living cleaning air conditioners, and that is because you have to dismantle the entire thing to actually reach the inner parts of it and get rid of the black mold. Otherwise, you're gonna keep breathing that stuff every day. And look, some people have no problem with that at all, and I'm almost certain this is not life-threatening, but I remember me and some of my friends getting pink eye from time to time until management hired a professional to clean the air con vents thoroughly. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of living on and off campus. Living on campus immerses you in the university life, surrounded by fellow students, many whom are experiencing China for the first time. You'll get to attend exciting school events and enjoy the vibrant atmosphere of Chinese universities with all the artificial lakes, koi fish, turtles, and the occasional cats, adding to the campus charm. And besides that, being on campus makes it easier to make friends. You know what they say, the more you fuck around, the more you find out, and the more you find out, the more you fuck around. On the flip side, living off campus does have its perks, like having more privacy and space, but it often means missing out on numerous opportunities to connect with new people and classmates and participate in on-campus activities. Now, if you're an introvert who cherishes solitude and has no desire to make friends in school, living off campus may not be a big deal for you. And I totally get it. But if you're an extrovert who enjoys interacting with people, there's a chance that you won't enjoy living off campus as much. But life beyond campus offers a different experience. In the good old days, I remember that the more experienced students preferred living off campus, considering dorm life a bit reminiscent of high school with all the noise, fight, and gossip. And by the way, in the last episode, we talked about relationships in China, so let me remind you that if you dare to shed where you eat and start a romantic relationship on campus, remember that if things go south, you'll likely run into your ex daily, a predicament easily avoided by living off campus. It's no wonder the more experienced students often lean toward this option. But living off campus comes with its own challenges. Gathering with friends and attending classes won't be as convenient, especially if you live far away. This is something many students don't anticipate until they arrive in China. It's common for students who rent off-campus apartments to end up spending most of their days on campus, either due to boredom or loneliness in their apartments, or simply because they struggle to stay productive at home. And apart from that, when you are living on campus, you have access to so many facilities that can make your life much easier, like gyms, cafes, restaurants, convenience stores, libraries, repair shops, and dry cleaning services. So if you're considering living off campus, keep in mind that it might feel a bit lonely and you may miss on opportunities to bond with other students and join school activities, as well as some more, let's say, spirited extracurricular activities. And no, not the ghostly ones. But if privacy and tranquility are what you value most, living off campus might be the better fit. It all boils down to your preferences and expectations. The reality is that some students who live on campus eventually decide to spend most of their time off campus, maybe because they have grown tired of the campus atmosphere, or because they want to explore the city and change their surroundings. Or maybe they find the campus a bit too distracting, especially with friends, classmates, and teachers always around, eager to chat and hang out. What might start as a short coffee or cigarette break can easily turn into a 3-hour conversation, and before you know it, it's time to go to sleep, leaving little time for school work. This can be particularly problematic for students juggling multiple academic responsibilities and deadlines, so in the end, the decision to live on or off campus depends on your personal preferences, academic needs, and lifestyle. Alright, let's dive into the realm of roommates, those unforgettable characters of the the dorms. When I moved into my first dorm at a Chinese university, I couldn't believe my luck, or well, maybe the lack of it. It was a 32-degree September night, I'll never forget it. These young teachers at the reception assigned me a room, and as I stepped into what I thought it was going to be my room, I swear, geez, I don't know how to explain it, but it had its own ecosystem with a small civilization, complete with its own culture, its bacterial culture. But hey, I didn't mind. I was too excited to be there, and I just cleaned the entire room without a second thought. But you know, sometimes I feel as if the teachers handed me a messy room they needed to clean, and I was too excited to even care. I took up the challenge because, look, as soon as I cleaned the room, they realized they assigned the wrong room to me and moved me to another messy room. Then I found out that the same teachers moved into the room I had just cleaned for them. God damn, man. But anyway, as I explored the dorms the next day, I couldn't help but notice that I was mostly surrounded by youngsters fresh out of high school. And there I was, feeling like the senile old man of the neighborhood who won't stop telling you the same stories. And the age gap made me feel a little out of place, even though we were all in the same boat, just at different stages of life. But I mean, I was like 24 and they were like 17 or 18. I made it sound as if I was like, I don't know, like 40 or something. But some neighbors were really nice and funny. Their antics and sense of humor had me laughing all the time. It was like living with a bunch of stand-up comedians. Everyone trying to learn each other's language and doing silly dances in the hallways of the dorms. Their energy was contagious, I have to admit, and most of my neighbors in Nanjing were from Laos, and they were extremely welcoming and warm. But let's be real, not all of the neighbors in that building were a walk in the park. I won't mention their nationality, as it's all about understanding and respecting different cultures, of course. But let's just say some of those neighbors brought chaotic energy with them. They were loud, boisterous, and personal space was more like a suggestion to them. They had this black and white way of thinking in which they would see other people as either friends or foes. Let's just say that China immortality syndrome hit them hard indeed. Later on, I met older and more mature students from these countries, and according to them, even though their countries try to send the most qualified and hardworking students, somehow some young spoiled brats also make it through. These are the same kids that would get loud and disorderly in the dorms, putting toothpaste on people's doors handles as if they got sexually aroused by the image of someone having toothpaste on their fingers. But luckily for everyone, they sucked at school and they never made it through. They were put on academic probation and slowly expelled one by one. But I can assure you that not everyone will have this kind of experience in the dorms. Probably most of you won't. But usually circumstances such as the age of the students, their maturity, emotional intelligence, and their cultural background will influence the environment in the dorms. That's a fact. And yes, I said cultural background because just like the great philosopher Slavoj Žižek once said,
every culture is beautiful in its own way. No, every culture is horrible in its own way. Every culture has, how to say, dead bodies in its closet.
Which I interpret as cultures having the potential to influence people in positive but also negative ways. And with such a massive influx of foreign students in China, you'll meet people with unique habits and unique ways of doing things, which is perfectly fine and even expected. But there were tense moments when roommates and neighbor dynamics got tricky. As you may already know, living in close quarters can lead to conflicts. That's undebatable. And cultural differences played a huge role in my opinion. Even though communication is key, you have to accept that not everyone is good at communicating. The reason why I think that culture plays a big role in this is because, for example, if someone comes from a country in which women are seen as objects, then you know exactly what to expect from this person. Then again, it might not be the case for everyone within the same culture. Family values play a huge role as well, but don't be surprised if a person's behavior aligns with their cultural stereotype. So to complement this example, just imagine a student that comes from a country in which the only chances they get to interact with a woman is when they talk to their sister, mother, or grandmother. Or imagine someone who has never had so much freedom to do what they wanted to do back in their country, but once they come to China, they have no family member to supervise them, and they overdo all those things they couldn't do back home, like drinking alcohol and driving bikes recklessly. And if you live on campus, you might have to live or witness the consequences consequences of the actions from people who haven't had the chance to be socialized properly. You might experience the consequences of their antisocial behavior, such as loud sex or loud arguments, disturbing your sleep or study time in the dorms, unless you're into that shit, of course. I don't know, but the same applies for very few people after a night of heavy drinking. Needless to say, drunk people can be really loud at night. But there's always the usual couples arguing and crying out loud, which might disturb you as well. And I get it, it's almost inevitable. But man, the rule of thumb is if you can hear people talking or playing music next door and through the walls, chances are that they can hear you too. It works both ways. So sometimes when you're being loud, it works to take a step back and ask yourself, am I being an asshole to my roommate or neighbors? And at this point, you can tell that Chinese dorms are not known for their state-of-the-art noise isolation. Many years ago, I remember being woken up every morning by the eyes or shushu's talking / yelling in the staircase or hallways, and if not that, then it was the classic from whatever vehicle reversing outside in the street, and if not that, then the weekly street repairs or the neighbor's monthly house renovation will keep you awake first hour in the morning. Yeah, the street repairs, man, because unlike my country, China is remarkably efficient at repairing streets, but man, they take this street maintenance very seriously. One day, I remember being woken up by some noise from outside at 3 a.m. So I opened the curtains, and there they were, hardworking Chinese men and women paving the street with asphalt. I remember thinking that workers back in my country would see working at 3 a.m. inconceivable, but anyway. Going back to the cultural and family background topic, another reason why I say that there are cultural factors and family values that play a role in the kind of relationship you'll have with your roommates and neighbors is because people have different interpretations of what hygiene, cleanliness, and politeness mean in general. Some people might take off their shoes before entering their rooms or apartments, but if you check the toilet, it might be full of poop stains. Some people will shower every day but never use deodorant. Some people brush their teeth religiously but fail to wash the dishes properly. Some people will never play music out loud late at night, but they always slam the door on their way out. My point is that there will always be something that bothers you about your roommate or neighbors. So you gotta be prepared and understand that in some cultures, men or women are not expected to cook, clean, sweep, mop, or do any chore at all. Some people never had the chance to share a space or rent a house together, so they never actually learned to show consideration for others. For example, maybe some of your roommates have no siblings and grew up in a house where their parents, housemates, or babysitters would do all the chores for them. So the concept of proactively cleaning and being orderly might be a foreign concept for them. In any case, you'll have to sit down and have some assertive conversations with your roommates about cleaning and taking up chores at home. That's good, but still, if everyone cleans their space and is considerate and polite and follow basic roommate etiquette and adhere to the unspoken rules of shared living, then you'll probably never have to even talk about it. But on the other hand, man, some people will simply not lift a single finger in an effort to make their space cleaner. I had many roommates before, and some of them were really clean and considerate, but some others were just plain disgusting and would not even make the minimal effort to keep things clean. This really sucks if you have to share a common area such as a living room or a bathroom with one roommate or more. At one point, I grew tired of reminding some of my roommates to clean their mess. And listen, I wasn't cleaning their mess because they failed to do it, but mostly because I would frequently have people over my place and I didn't want them to see the mess I was living in, even if that meant taking up all the chores. You'll see some people simply lack the sense of disgust and are happy to live with dozens of why my boxes and bags covering the entirety of the floor. Alright, now let's see, why don't we talk about, well, roommates and neighborly relationships in general. The juicy stuff of the dorm life saga. It's a real mixed bag, people. Look, sometimes you'll hit the jackpot and instantly click with your roommates and neighbors. Maybe you'll even have late night study sessions, laughter, and memories that will last a lifetime. Those are the perks, but brace yourself because on the flip side, you might end up with a roommate that gives you the creeps or one that doesn't know how to behave. Picture this, you step into your room excited to meet your new roommate only to face someone emanating hostile vibes. Then you have to deal with constant complaints, unreasonable demands, a messy apartment and late night video game induced screaming, but please don't freak out and accept that there's always the chance that you end up with an asshole for a roommate. And in most cases, there's very little you can do about it, especially if you solely rely on the scholarship. Based on my experience, universities don't always have clear channels to address such matters. Back in the day, I remember students volunteering and putting up posters on the bulletin board with messages like, "Do you have a problem with your roommate? Come talk to us." The posters displayed pictures of several students and their nationalities along with their WeChat usernames. And look, I think that even though this was a noble attempt to support students with shitty roommates, forming an organization solely based on students' help may not be the most effective solution. Having witnessed all the drama that can unfold in the dorms, I strongly believe it is crucial for the International Students Office and the property management company to establish a well-defined channel for students to report any problems they might encounter. This channel should encompass a wide range of issues, not limited to dealing with difficult roommates. I think it should also address concerns such as noise disturbances, unclean living conditions, and any form of harassment, verbal or physical abuse, bullying, or intimidation occurring within the dormitory premises. I think that providing such a reporting system would ensure a safer and more supportive environment for all students. And yes, I think that students can volunteer to help, but they shouldn't be the sole reliance for handling such sensitive matters. There's always the risk of potential conflicts of interest when another student is getting reported. For instance, the person being reported might be a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or even a countrymate of the volunteer. That's precisely why organizations usually have human resources departments or third-party auditors to handle such matters. And some universities do have a channel to address reports and complaints, but there's no clear course of action when it comes to these matters. Sometimes the property management company will make you sign agreements if you misbehave, but they rarely follow up on that. I know that people have been expelled before for, lending their student cards to outsiders and stuff like that, or renting their rooms to outsiders, but, when it comes to noisy neighbors, people will complain on WeChat groups dedicated for specific buildings, but most of their complaints, if not all, go unnoticed and no one seems to care. By the way, don't even get me started on those damn WeChat groups, man. I don't know if I sound like a grandpa for saying this, but when did we stop sending email notices for the things that mattered? And I feel like WeChat groups opened the gates of hell for hundreds of daily and irrelevant notices to clutter your WeChat even more. I mean, if they use these group chats only for important notices, I wouldn't complain. But man, the weather forecast? Really? Come on. If I get a notice about the weather forecast on one of the few hundred WeChat groups I haven't deleted yet, it better be a red warning. I don't want no Amber Alert bullshit. It better be a Katrina-like typhoon, some imminent danger. Only then I would take the time to look at those WeChat groups carefully. But yeah, alright, that was my rant/tangent. Sorry. Now here's a crazy story in exchange for listening to my rant. Back when I was in Nanjing, my friend's roommate turned their shared bathroom into his personal spa. Not by putting all of his personal care products, but the total opposite. By using up all my friend's shampoo, soap, toothpaste, deodorant, body spray, and detergent. Can you imagine the shock of going back to your room and smelling the same familiar fragrance only to find out your roommate had just taken a shower with your hair products? Man, my friend felt a little sketched out from the beginning, but he thought he was probably crazy or imagining things. But one day he marked the bottles to have evidence, and so yeah, the guy fell for it, and even after being confronted, the guy would always deny it and would even get offended. Can you believe it? According to my friend, he has no recollection of ever seeing his roommate buying any personal care products at all, meaning that he had probably been sharing all of his personal care products with his roommate without even knowing since day one. But the ultimate straw was when the guy started stealing my friend's drinks and food from his mini fridge. That was it. My friend decided to bail out and move in with me. In the end, we suspected the guy was provoking my friend because he just wanted the room to himself for some Netflix and chill action, because management would rarely assign you a new roommate in the middle of a semester, so you could literally have the entire room for yourself for at least 6 months. But karma came around. the administration assigned him another roommate shortly after. And that was even worse, trust me, because I'm sure my friend was not the perfect roommate either. But sometimes it's better to deal with the devil that you know than the devil you don't, meaning that it's better to deal with a slightly bad roommate that you know than a new roommate that could be even worse. Okay, people, now you know the drill. Dorm life in China is a wild ride, but hey, there's always a way to make it work. It's all about open communication, setting realistic expectations, practicing common courtesy, and you'll be good to go. Alright, that's it for today. In the next episode, I'll talk about teachers in China, because they're a whole different story. From the nicest and most dedicated educators to the not so nice and laid back teachers, you'll encounter a diverse array of teaching styles and personalities. Don't forget, teachers are humans too. Get ready to delve into the world of Chinese teachers. I'll share some funny and insightful anecdotes from my own experiences and those of fellow students. But before I let you go, don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode to help this podcast become more relevant and reach more people. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, YouTube, and every other social media under China University Podcast. Feel free to drop a message with your comments and ideas. Thanks for tuning in. This was Jimsy, your student advisor. See you next time.